righty, gang. You guys, I've been waiting for this for a long time. We got Benny Florentino and Michael Folks with us today. They're going to be conducting a really cool interview with all the history of Benny Florentino and his family and all the great things that he's done in this industry. Michael's going to be interviewing him. I am live from out on the water. We are out off of Cedros right now, fishing, kind of trolling through some dolphins right now. We're kind of out here in the ocean. It's a beautiful day. I know it's not like that in San Diego right now, gang. I know you guys are kind of getting beat up. We get that tomorrow, but we can't ask for anything better today. We have a boat full of big Dorado, all 15 to 25 pound Dorado. We'll show them to you a little bit later in the show. But right now, we got Michael Folks, Benny Florentino. Go ahead, guys, get it on.
Hey, Benny, it's so good to see you again, man. It's been a lot of years.
Yeah, it's been a while. I really enjoyed sharing projects in the past, and spending some day on the water, just fishing our local bass and island bass for sure. We did some great projects in the past, which I think you can still see a few of those shows now on YouTube, right, Michael?
They're coming up on YouTube, and we're just launching the YouTube channel for Inside Sport Fishing a couple weeks ago. So it's coming up on YouTube, and I think they're also right now on Prime. You can watch them all, the whole series on Prime.
Nice.
So, but hey, before we get started, Benny, can you just sort of back up a little bit and tell us a little bit about your history, where you grew up, and how you got into fishing, and how it sort of evolved into becoming, an integral part of your life and your son's life and your whole family's life?
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up as a Navy brat. My dad was stationed out here. I was actually born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at the Philadelphia Naval Hospital in the port there,
which is right next to the Schuylkill Fishing Club.
Exactly. So I have a lot of water history, being born in right near the water. My dad being in the service, and then I moved there when I was 3, 1960, and lived in Wilmington. My dad was stationed in San Pedro. At the time, was one of the largest naval ports on the West Coast.
Yep.
And my dad was stationed on a destroyer. But back in those days, you were able to ride your bike anywhere you wanted and not worry about getting hit by a car or anything. I mean, the only thing we had to worry about riding our bikes to Pedro and the drunks on Beacon Street, but that was it. Pretty much one guy, you knew his name. He was like Mayberry RFD back in the day. And we'd go, as kids, I don't know how old we were, 10, 12, and ride our bikes to Pedro and fish the docks for bonita, piling perch, Holiday Harbor, fishing the big piling perch, butterlip perch there with the crabs on the pilings. Then I kind of navigated to half-day fishing from old Pier Point that used to have the 2 tanks that had seals in it, where Waterfront Landing is now. And then, fish 22nd Street when the Halls owned it way back when. And then also fishing Redondo. So I kind of stayed in that Pedro South Bay type thing. We'd between half-day boats and riding our bikes to King Harbor and fish the bonita and the bubble.
Yep.
So that's where it all started, and it wasn't until like late 70s maybe I met the owner from Warren King. We're fishing Rocky Point up in Palos Verdes, wide open bass bites, summertime, typical summertime, all the bass you want on anchovies, Penn Squitter, Saber 270, 12-pound mono, and fly lining an anchovy.
Yep.
And he turned me on. He goes, "Hey kid, try one of these things with these metal heads." And that's where it kind of took off for me for fishing artificials, because he goes, I never had to change my bait. I just fished that thing. And back then we didn't have the technology and rubber making. Those things were hard as rocks, and you can catch, 30, 40 bass with them and they'd still be good, right? And the fish didn't see that stuff. So that's where it started. Back in the day, there was basically 2 outfits. You had a live bait rig and a surface iron rig, and that was it. Penn 500, Jig Master with 30-pound mono, and probably like an 8.5, 9 foot Saber rod. And then I kind of like Saber because they were built there in Gardena. So
I love their color patterns.
yeah, exactly. I even stayed with those when I had my long range rods made by Yo. So I went from there. I bought my first skiff in '83 and started to really fish that. You know, I was still fishing the different stuff, sea bass, yellows, even tuna when we used to catch them past the rigs. And then I just started focusing on bass with artificial lures. And I just kind of been doing it since then. That's, I don't know how many years that is, 40 plus?
40, yep.
And just tried to hone my craft, you know, really focused in on catching bass. And then as the years evolved, you know, the baits, the tackle, and all that got really, really good. And I was able to fish just like the long range guys and the multi-day guys. You know, I got to fish smaller, lighter, and with the advent of braid, that really changed the game a lot. And obviously the baits, you know, fished a lot of different baits. You know, we fished in the early days, it was scampies and the early worm kings. Those were real popular. And then, you know, just started fishing all the different swim baits that were out there. Fished a lot of Barry Breitenberg's fish traps in the early 90s through the 90s, and then just fished a lot of different baits as guys became bait makers and all these different types came out. Everybody got pretty creative, and yeah, that's pretty much where my humble beginnings. You know, my son Matt's been fishing with me since he was 3, from half day to skiff.
So cool.
To now. So we don't get to fish as much as anymore because he's got two young boys, 2 grandsons of mine, and you know his job working with Salty Crew as a marketing director. So very seldom. We probably get to fish maybe 2 or 3 times a year at most.
Yeah, but it's 3 generations coming up.
Yeah, but we've got 2 grandsons that love to fish and they don't get sick. So those are the 2 we take at least once a year, and they love it and they don't get sick. That's the other ones get sick and they don't get sick. They can handle being out there in pretty crappy weather. So
good deal. Yeah, there's nothing worse than puking when you're on the boat.
Yeah, it's a bad experience. So but they get to come every year no matter what, and they have a ball. They have a ball.
Hey, talk to me a little bit about well, first of all, I want to ask you about the advantages of using Spectra. How did that change the game on the inshore fisheries?
Boy, that changed a lot because it seemed like the rods and reels developed before the braided line.
Right.
And then once braided line came around, I think it caught up. It started to catch up with the tackle, the rods, the reels, and then from there you just, you know, each angler kind of determined it. But the fact that you can fish, you know, thinner diameter, you know, I think we started with 40. And that was equivalent to like 15-pound test. And then some of the areas we fished, we felt we can fish a lot heavier, you know, your 50s and 65-pound. Up to now, I fish up to 80-pound, you know, max quattro, which is 25% thinner than regular 80-pound. So you're looking at about 65-pound line. But my thought is, if you can get away with heavy, because the goal is to hook them and get them in the boat. That's right. The number one goal is hook them and get them in the boat. If I could do it heavier, then I'm going to fish as heavy as I possibly can if the fish allows me, whether it's yellowtail, tuna, or even a big calico bass.
Yeah, you want to turn those calicos, get them off the boiler rocks and out of the kelp as quick as you can, or you're going to lose them.
100%. That's the most critical part, is hooking them, getting them out of the stuff, and the rest should be pretty gravy.
That Spectra just cuts right through the kelp like it was butter.
Through the kelp, through the grass, some of that bull kelp too. You know, it just slices right through. If you had mono and you had that stretch or even straight fluorocarbon, I don't think you'll have the advantage as you would with the braided line.
Are you doing straight tie, or are you putting on any top shot?
You know, I kind of been back and forth. I used to fish straight tie, but the rods I've been fishing was a little heavier, so I was pulling a lot of hooks. Then I went to fluoro, and I've been kind of playing around a little bit with mono because some of the rods I have are a little bit stiffer. So we'll see. I actually just tied like 40 and 50 pound on some of my outfits just for a little give. So we'll see. I literally just spooled up or just tied some leaders on just during this weather. So just
Cool.
to play with it.
How long of a top shot, Benny?
Real short, maybe 18 inches max.
Okay.
18,
All right.
yeah.
All right, cool.
Yep.
All right, so talk to me a little bit about your business. How can somebody get a hold of you if they want to come fishing with you? How's that all work?
I mean, there's a number of ways to get a hold of me. One is you can go to my Instagram page at coastal_charters. That's strictly for me. The Instagram is just strictly about fishing. So that's what you're going to get. But they can go there, coastal_charters on Instagram. They can go to Coastal Charters in Facebook. They can go to my webpage at fishcoastalcharters.com.
Great.
And you can Google that and it pops right up. Or you can DM me directly and I'll be glad to call you and talk to you about anything, whether it's boats. I had somebody DM me before the show and ask me what kind of clips I use on my baits, and I sent them a link to it. So
Very cool.
I'm pretty good about returning calls, DMs, and that sort of thing. So
and Matt was pretty instrumental in helping you get all that set up, wasn't he?
100%. He built my website. So
Yeah.
I mean,
What a great asset. Yep.
yeah, he's probably my toughest critic. It's like I'll post something, he goes, man, he'll text me or call and goes, take that shit down. That's pretty weak. Let's do something better than that, man.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I respect, because he's worked with some of the top bass elite guys across the country, a lot of pros. So I value his constructive yet harsh and brutal criticism sometimes. But
you want that though, don't you?
100%. I take it as constructive as be.
Absolutely.
And he'll also give praise too. He goes, man, that was good. See, you need to do more of that. So
and
it's tough for me.
He's the marketing director for Salty Crew, isn't he?
Salty Crew now, yes. Yeah.
That's so cool. They're just such a great product.
It's a totally different thing, because they're the more the surf brand, but they're really trying to hone in on that fishing market too. So it's real versatile for him. It's different because it's surf market. He's, as my thought, because in my early years when I was fishing, I was also a pro surfer. So until I had really bad ears, and my inside goal was for him to be a surf kid, right? So at 8 months, I bought him a custom board and threw him out in the water and almost drowned him. My wife almost killed me all the way up till he's one. I go, well, guess he's not going to surf, so we'll work another way around it.
That's so funny.
But yeah, so it's new to him, so he's pretty excited because it's a new challenge.
I want to ask you about the calico bass in a second and some of the techniques and things that you're using for him. But I've got to tell you a short story. My very first long-range trip ever was with Frank Lopresti on the Royal. And, getting up in a wheelhouse on a long-range boat that was like the holy grail.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time they had crew-only banners. They had the big plaques up on the ladder that says crew-only. So you weren't really allowed to go up in the wheelhouse back in the day. And but once they invited me in there, I was like a little kid in a candy store. I was shaking. I was so nervous talking to Frank. And I'm so pumped up. It was on a 16-day trip. We're going to go fish cows and wahoo. And I said, Frank, what's your favorite fish in the world? And he goes, calico bass.
Yeah.
So why would one of the leading long-range skippers in the world and one of the guys with the most prestigious reputation and still running one of the premier boats in the entire fleet, why would he say calico bass over cow tuna and 50, 60, 70, 80 pound wahoo and huge 40, 50 pound dorado? Why do you think he would say calico bass?
Man, I don't know if it's because you can catch a lot of them or it's kind of like the big fish in the hunt. You gotta do the hunt, right? You got to figure out what they want. And when you do, your rewards can be pretty great with numbers and possibly good ones. I think all those captains, I mean, if you look at majority, 90% of the captains, they love to fish. Like if you ask them saltwater fish, they'd say calico bass. But now the new thing is largemouth, right? Largemouth is their new deal. probably because of the same thing, just because it takes them off the saltwater, off a big boat or off a boat, and it takes them to tranquil areas like a lake, like your El Salto or Pikachu's or one of the San Diego lakes, and you're still doing the same thing. You have the hunt, you have the tackle, you have everything going. I think that's what the lure is pretty much. I mean, somebody asked me, the other day, they go, "Why don't you fish tournaments anymore?" I go, "I got to fish tournaments every day." As we all know, fish have fins, and they, one day the groceries are at the market, the next day they're not in the market. So you got to go find where the groceries are. Same thing with inshore bass. Things are not the same every day, unless we're fortunate enough as we had one of the most fantastic sand bass bites in 20 years in our local waters this last summer. But for the most part, if you're targeting calicos, unless you're at Catalina fishing live bait on the front side, you catch 150 of them. And unless you're targeting big fish, then you got to work a little bit harder. But for the most part, I think summertime from June to end of August, you can just
load up
hammer them on live bait for sure.
You said
what? Hold on, Michael. One thing I wanted to ask Benny real quick. He skimmed over this thing that got him into fishing really quickly. He did it like 5 minutes. I mean, it's so important to touch on that fishing when you were a little kid on the docks. And the kids today, the way people act when you see a kid coming down your dock and you're like, "Get out of here, don't fish my dock." It's like, dude, what are we doing? We're the bass fishing, the spotted bait bass fishing. That's what we all cut our teeth on, the piling perch, everything else. Can you just focus on that for a few minutes and talk about that? Because as a dad and as a grandfather, you and I both are, it's so important to get our kids and our grandkids into fishing. And that's how you're going to do it. And that's how they're going to get involved, and they're going to get that love of fishing. You're not going to get them loving fishing, taking them bluefin fishing.
Right. You're absolutely right, Dave. I get a lot of people that have kids, grandkids, nephews, nieces. They go, "I want to take them to get bit." Okay, July, anytime. Let's go in July, get bit. But as far as the kids that ride their electric bikes or their bikes or walk and fish the docks, if I had my way, hey kids, if you're out there, you young groms out there trying to fish the docks, the best way to do it is just be respectful, be nice, and be cordial, and clean up after yourself. If you do bring stuff with you, treat it like maybe treat it better than like it's yours, and maybe even knock on the door like some of the kids do out at the ponds, in the middle country. There's, "Hey, you mind if I spend like 20 minutes, fishing your dock? I'm trying to catch a whatever."
Right.
You're fishing with, I think 99% of the kids now are fishing with lures and usually have one or two rods. But I just think anytime a kid can go fish, don't just look for the bite. Just try to bend. That's all we did. Heck, we were pulling the piling crabs off the dock, getting pinchered and just trying to put them on a hook and catch one of those butter lips or piling perch. Just real simple stuff. Thank God we didn't have social media then. We just did it because, hey, we can go down there for 3 or 4 hours with our buddies and then go collect some bottles and then buy some popsicles or something on the way back. We
did the same thing. You collect bottles and turn them in for a nickel a piece.
Yeah, simple times, right? Really simple times. But I just think the kids should just be, really think about their surroundings, really care. If somebody dirtied around there, just clean up after them. I clean up around the wash dock or even the ramp a lot when I'm launching the boat or coming in. Guys go, "Wow, I can't believe it." I go, "Man, I'm usually at this ramp, 200 plus days a year. It's like my backyard. I don't leave my backyard dirty. I don't leave my front yard dirty. I like to see it clean, and hopefully I can set an example for other people, But it comes down to just being respectful and just get out there, not for clicks, but just get out there because you want to bend the rod. Just get a bite.
And that, you just nailed it. The tranquility of fishing freshwater. I want to back up to a second. When you're talking about the tranquility of fishing freshwater, there's no generator. There's no big main diesel motors running.
Yep.
You're virtually in a tranquil environment with a troll motor probably at best. And it's just silent and quiet. And it's all about the presentation and the bite.
Yep.
And that's what Dave says when we start the whole series. He talks about the essence of fishing is the bite.
Yep.
And
100%. Yeah, 100%. And when my guests approach me, and especially ones I've never talked to, because I don't book anybody till I do an interview with them on the phone, so I can get a real good vibe about them. I go, do you want to go fishing or do you want to go catching? And who are you taking with you? And what kind of gear are you used to? So I get a feeling for what they really want. You want to learn? Then we're going to go fishing, and we'll use all this cool Shimano gear that I have on the boat, and we'll teach you to cast. We'll see what you're looking for. You'll get the bite, and if that's tough for you, we'll go catching. Because there are areas. There's all. I think any guide's got to have a spot for catching, just in case plan A through Q isn't working for fishing. There's always got to be, but I think that's important, just to know where somebody's head's at, what they want. And maybe I'm not what they want. Maybe they're my buddy who strictly fishes bait fish and catches and kills. Maybe that's their deal. Maybe that's what they want, and I'll send them off to them.
Hold on one second, Michael. I got to show this Akara jig real quick. Benny, watch this. You're going to be blown away. I actually sound like I might know what I'm talking about.
This is the Promar Ahi booth. Now, last night at the new product showcase, I looked at some of the lures, and the nicest lure that I saw on the shelf was the Ahi Ikara. So they have their new Ikara line of jigs. These things are absolutely incredible. I'm going to show you them up close, but we're going to talk to Dave here. Dave's going to run us through the new lures from Promar Ahi and tell us what the features are on the lures. So now you corrected me and said these were slow pitch jigs?
Yeah, they're slow pitch jigging is the new thing in the fishing industry. Everybody's doing the slow pitch thing. They're making rods for it and everything. So we came out with the Akara line of slow pitch jigs. And the way that the fish react to them is absolutely incredible. Like you were mentioning to me, you could tell that they went to everything right. The hooks are perfectly weighted. Every part of the lure is weighted so that it flutters when it falls, and it looks just like a wounded bait fish. And it causes an unbelievable reaction bite. As we go through the line, we have them from 15 grams all the way to 150 grams.
Okay, so we're talking saltwater and freshwater.
Oh, yes, salt and fresh. I just did a seminar over at the Bass Tank, and every bass in there had the lure in his mouth at least 5 times.
First off, I just got to say, the quality and the detail on these things, you can visually walk by and see that these things are built different. I mean, the tiniest details on this, it looks like a real fish. 3D depth on the eyes. I mean, these things are unbelievable. Even the way the hooks are attached. They have like heat shrink sleeves over the tie-ons. I mean, everything was thought through on these lures that I can see from.
You really have to fish with it to appreciate it. When you watch it flutter, it's incredible. And I know you couldn't see it in the product showcase how it flutters, but you can only see what you can see, but you recognized it, which was a good deal.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to try one of these in some of the invasives in South Florida. Now, if I'm fishing for bass, which ones would I go for here?
It all depends on the depth of the water.
Okay.
If you're going to fish the shallower water, you see the smaller bait, the largemouth bass or the peacock bass or the smallmouth chasing the small bait. This is going to replicate that small bait inside there.
Okay.
So you're going to throw this on a spinning rod with maybe some 6-pound or 8-pound because you're trying to get a reaction bite on that fish when they're on the small bait. You can't fish it with very heavy line because then it won't do the flutter as it sinks. So it's going to have to be a lighter line.
Okay.
As you move up to the weight, then you can move up on your pound test.
Now, how come they didn't put treble hooks on these?
Treble hook's not going to allow this to flutter the way we want it to flutter. We've tried different treble hooks. So the smaller treble hook will allow it to flutter, but then you won't hook it. J-hook, the way that it's weighted on here and the way that it's rigged, it's ready to go right out of the package. but you're also going to hook the fish when he eats it.
Well,
Straight
Dave,
up and down.
they look beautiful. I appreciate the lesson you just gave me here, and I appreciate it all, man. I can't wait to try one of these things out in the water.
Thank you very much,
Right.
Joe, for stopping
you,
by
man.
and checking this
Again,
out.
you
I
can
can't
get
wait.
those for
Thanks, Dave.
15% off. Use that QR code. Go to promarahi.com, put in the QR code, or just simply type in YSWG and the number 22. You'll save 15% off on all the products. You'll be blown away with what Promar makes. They make every single thing that you use today, from bait scoops to landing nets and everything in between. I sounded like I actually know what I'm talking about, huh?
I was going to say, great job on that one, Dave.
You know, that jig, I think it's 20 gram, was a killer for those sand bass out there. We were catching 2 at a time with that sand bass.
Let's talk about that for a minute, Michael, because we almost lost our sand bass. We almost lost the fish that built the West Coast fishery. I don't care, long range, short range, whatever. All the boats have a lineage. You can trace the lineage back to the owners. Everybody made their money fishing sand bass.
Yep, 100%. And, you know, if we would have lost the sand bass this year, boy, it would have been, I mean, you know, a lot of it I catch and release. I don't have a problem if my guests want to keep whatever they want. They have every right to keep whatever fish they catch. 97% of my guests, they catch and release. And, you know, I'd run a half-day trip, you know, just jigs only, right, for that sand bass this last summer. We're doing 80 to 100 bass in a 4-hour trip.
Jeez.
Just wide open bass. You just find a meatball of bait, and I'll throw the trolling motor over, spot lock, and just hammer about 20 or 30, and then the bait moves, the fish move. You find another spot on my Humminbird side imaging. Oh, there's a spot 20 yards away. We're going to just slowly troll motor over there, put it in spot lock, make a bunch of casts, catch another 20 or 30, and move on. But those jigs, the way they fluttered, you were either getting bit, you know, 20 feet off the surface or 90 feet on the bottom. Those jigs really, really, really worked well. And, you know, I saw them I needed baits like that, so I went to the store and bought them. And then I told Steve about them at some event we were at, and he gave me a handful of them. I go, thanks, Steve, because these things were money. And they weren't like fishing plastics that were getting chewed up. I mean, those things, you can do, I can do 3 trips until the paint came off.
Exactly.
But I tell you, that sand bass fishing this year, if they would have closed it at that meeting before, boy, the poor guys would have been decimated, because we had guys coming up from your landing down at Dana. I mean, Wooly was running all the way up there. The Pride was running up there. All the boats were coming up there to fish that sand bass because it was just tremendous. I mean, it was like the good old days, you know, as everybody says. I mean, I'd like to look back on my log and see how many I've caught. Now that I have some time, I think I'm going to do that and post it. But just to get an idea from that June to end of July number, just to see exactly how many sand bass I caught during that time and how many released. I don't think we kept any sand bass during that time that I can remember, maybe 10. But we were averaging 100 a trip, whether it was full day or otherwise, catching and releases. It was the best. Last year was okay. They were more on the horseshoe, but they were on traditional Huntington Flats last year.
Wide open.
I mean, as good as it gets.
Oh, my God.
As good as it gets.
Some of the best fishing I've ever had is on the flats.
Oh, my gosh. Just tremendous.
If they had shut this bass fishery off, I think it probably would have been the beginning of the end for our live bait fishery. Because if the sport boats don't have anywhere to go, and they can't target this phenomenal species, you know, they're just keep restricting it down and down and down. It's like death through 1,000 cuts. So, you know, it kind of brings me up to we'll get off of this in a real quick minute, but Proposition 50 is coming up for a vote here in California. And if you want water in your fire hydrants, if you want to be able to keep fishing, vote no on 50, period.
Yep.
All it comes down to is if you want to retain your rights to fish, and if you'd like to have some water in your fire hydrants if you need it, it's a no on 50.
Yep.
And it's so important that we get out there and vote. And I don't see the energy within our community. don't think people realize how important this rigged Prop 50 election is.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing how much money that they're putting into that yes vote, right? I mean, just
$1 billion.
Yeah,
is what I've been told
yeah.
has been put into the advertising for yes on 50, and that's all Newscomb.
Yeah, you see it everywhere, and that's all I can tell. It's hard to not talk politics when I have people on the boat for 8 hours at a time, but it comes up.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Benny, is we got to get involved, because you know what? If we don't have an industry anymore.
Yeah,
We have, unfortunately, we're at the point now where people like you and me and Michael, there's a lot of people that look up to us and are looking, and we got to represent our industry, because look at this sand bass thing. That's how close we were to losing the industry.
Yeah.
And there were entities that were saying there were none. There were no sand bass. And we told them over and over and over again, this is a highly, highly migratory fish.
Yep.
And they said, no, it's not. We said, but it is. And these ones that you caught this year, those aren't your bass that live on the horseshoe. And these aren't your bass that live on structure. You know those. Their bellies are dark. They're all dark in the kelp and in the weeds.
Yep.
These were white bellied, super clean, full of energy and full of semen, and they were spewing all over the place, and they were happy to be in Southern California making babies. That's what they were doing. And then they go back to Mexico. But if we listen to the experts, there were no sand bass anywhere on the planet Earth.
It was extinct.
Well, it's hard to fish for sand bass when there's bluefin tuna right outside the harbor or 10 miles off the beach, for a full day guy to not go after that, because that's a once in a lifetime thing too for a 3/4 day guy. Or the year we had the Dorado a few years back, it's really hard to
get a
go
guy
fish sand bass when you can catch 100+ Dorado that really want to jump in the boat.
Right.
And you can catch them as close as 5 miles off the beach or right off Catalina for both species. So it's really that data was mute, right? It was totally mute, and it's really, really hard. The circumstances were not there, but look at over the last 3 years, I can tell you, just because a lot of my guys, we didn't chase a lot of it. If we happen to go through and saw foaming bluefin, we'll spend some time. But if it's over 100, we keep going. We'll take and keep going.
Blow that bass gear up.
Well, one, I think a lot of my guys would not have been able to handle it. We didn't have the gear. And two, I didn't want to process that stuff and let it sit on the boat, because I don't have a hole big enough to do that justice. You know what I mean? It would not do it justice to get a 100-pound fish and let it sit on the deck or in a bag all day. So, but thank God that they came to their senses and at least keep 4, especially for the guys. I thought one thing that should have been probably posted by a lot of the guys that said we had limits of sand bass, I would have also put released, like the guys in Dana do, released 400 or whatever it is. We caught at least 400, just so it shows. Yeah.
Because those NGOs, that's what they read. They read the fish reports.
Yes.
That's kind of what they built their whole case about, is that, hey, there's no more sand bass. Nobody's catching sand bass. They haven't caught them for years, or the numbers are so skewed downward that we think they're extinct. And that's just because, like you said, people were fishing tuna and yellowtail and just going a little bit further offshore that nobody was really targeting them. And they are a highly migratory fish.
I mean, I offered my log and also my services to be on the study, because I am the bass guy. So you're going to get pretty good data, whether it's in the harbor or outside the harbor or up the line, down the line, wherever it may be. So at least you got data from one person that's out there targeting them.
Did they take that data from you, Benny? Were they?
No, I mean, other than sending it to my log, but how they used it, I don't know. I don't know. So I actually reached out to them. I go, hey, just so that they get eyes on it. Hey, is there a way? Because I don't do paper log, I do electronic. Okay. So sometimes once it's sent through, They compile the data because I know there's a database for me. If I can get how many calicos I release and how many sand bass I release, because again, 97% of my guests do not keep. It's all catch and release.
Yep.
And lure fishing.
That's definitely the future of the sport. There's no question.
Yeah.
You know,
it's our bread and butter. We all grew up catching sand bass and barracuda from spring to summer. That's just what we all grew up doing.
And I love their teardrops.
Yeah.
when they're spawning.
Oh.
Yeah, yellow stripe is just so cool.
And the quality of the fish. I had these teenagers. I had four young guys. Barely going into high school. It was a birthday trip, and they wanted to catch a bunch. So I go, okay, we're gonna throw A-rigs. They go, really? So they were catching 3, 4, and 5 at a time. The fish averaged 3 to 5 pounds. Can you imagine 3 to 5 pounds on A-rigs for 4 hours, and then getting them up to 8 pounds? You get like 3 pounders and an 8 pounder. You had what? That's 3, 6, 17 pounds on an A-rig.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And you really don't have to cast because there was current, so they just flip it out and go back to the current. And they're getting bit on the sink. So yeah, it was about as good as it gets. It really is.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
And Dave, you were. I just want to thank you again. You were instrumental, I think, David, in helping getting that bill squashed.
Right. Well, it wasn't sexy. That's for damn sure. There wasn't any bluefin. There wasn't anybody holding big giant fish. It was a grassroots thing, and we were involved. While Benny was out fishing, we were inside on the show every single day, telling everybody to show up to this meeting. And we looked around. There was like 150 people in the meeting, and that was kind of spectacular. And 90% of them were Your Saltwater Guide members. So my hat is off to all the members that showed up, plus the other people that showed up too. Yeah. It was just a grassroots thing, and we saved fishing.
There's no question.
I actually sat in on that last webinar, and yeah, your people were definitely in full force. So it was good to see.
And there must have been 15 or 20 items on the agenda. And the other items had 1, 2, maybe 3 people that were there to talk about those items, those agenda items. And when the sand bass came up, they shut us off at 150. They wouldn't take any more members. They wouldn't let any more people in.
And they said 50 people could speak.
Right.
We had 150 people in the skew that wanted to speak, Benny, and it was a tragedy that everybody didn't get to speak, but they had never seen anybody show up like that.
Nope. Yeah. It staggered them. And the same thing's holding true right now, guys. I'll let it go at this last time, but it's a no on 50. It's as important as the sand bass issue. It's this issue we're facing right now in California. It's no on prop fishing.
100%.
You just do whatever it takes. Ask for a mail-in ballot. See if it's still time to get a mail-in ballot. So all you have to do is just mark it off and send it in. But come on, guys, we've got to rally around this and see if we can change the tide here, because like we said earlier, I think Dave said it's death through 1,000 cuts.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't want to get Benny in trouble though, so we'll leave that alone right now. We'll stop talking about that.
Sorry, Benny.
It's all good. Very important.
I apologize, but it is important.
Very important.
Okay, so you were talking about, you get a group of guys together and you want to target calico bass. So let's say you're running the inside of the island and you're fishing the island, and you get 100 fish, and on the way home, oh, here's a kelp patty, it's full of yellowtail. And then, oh, here's a breezing school of bluefin. Oh, here's some free swimming dorado. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about the variety of species that you could encounter in an old day trip with you?
Yeah, I mean, going to Catalina in the summer, you could almost, at least in years past, you could almost run into bluefin tuna. We've caught them, processed them, and brought them to the dock, literally 5 miles outside of Newport Harbor.
Unbelievable.
More than 5 times. Thank goodness I have a really good resource out there. I've been getting, I'll get texts in the middle of the day going, hey, that tuna's up again. If you guys want to get your guys on it, he goes, and it's the perfect size. It's that 40 to 80 pound stuff. Awesome. Perfect.
I can handle 40 pounds now.
Yeah, because with like a 400 size, like a Tranx 400 and 80 pound and 60 pound on a popper or a stick bait.
So much fun. So much fun.
Yeah. And you know, and the fact that you hook one or two, and then you get them in the boat and their day's done. Are you kidding? That's like icing on the cake. But you can run into tuna. You know, the year of the Dorado, it was not uncommon to run into schools of Dorado that would eat, you know, stick baits. You know, stick bait being like a jerk bait with no lip, smaller in size. We were throwing really like 4-inch size poppers, and you know, because the goal is to get bit, right? Goal is to get bit and get them in the boat. And so I went smaller so the fish inhaled them. Nothing big because we weren't messing with that big stuff. We were just going after game fish if we run into them. If we didn't, we didn't. You know, it was a shorter day for me, but at least, you know, we kind of looked for a little bit. But on days we did capitalize on them, boy, it just was icing on the cake where you can catch 40, 50 bass, you know, in shallow along the east end of Catalina from Salta Verde to the V's to the east end, and then leave the island at about 1:30 and maybe spend about an hour or so looking for tuna or a kelp patty for yellows or Dorado or foamers. Is icing on the cake if it happens. At least we put effort, and if we do capitalize, man, I tell you, you grin from ear to ear. You know, it just makes the day.
Sure.
Yeah, fish are still fresh. Those days, I usually am prepared. You know, with a big kill bag. Again, nothing over 100 pounds. 80 pounds is very doable with the gear I have. Even 100 if I have the right angler. But on the average, that bluefin 50 to 70.
Perfect size.
Yeah, it's perfect size. Perfect size. And if we ever have yellowfin come up this way again, like we did in the old days from September to October, you know, just off the 14 and the A bank, that would just be something. But, you know, hopefully soon, maybe next year. Yeah, I mean, we fished, you know, some of the beaches and got into wide open, you know, sea bass bites, you know, incidental. You know, the one time we were fishing wide open bass and the bass stopped biting, and we had 3 white sea bass over 60 pounds on swim baits.
Jeez.
Over 60.
Over 60.
Yeah. I didn't have a kill bag big enough, and I didn't have an ice, so we just laid cold towels over it, just kept them wet, went straight in, weighed them up on the certified scale in Los Alamitos. 63, 62, and 65.
Woo!
But we've caught them up to 55 on a surface iron, 40 on a jerkbait, you know, 30 plus on swim baits, just all incidentals. Those are all incidental fish, you know, halibut up to 20 pounds. These are all incidentals along with bass. So those things you may get. No promises, but you just never know, especially you put yourself in a position to catch. Some of the accolades I have as far as trophy count, and anything trophy is, I think, over 7 pounds, but I've had 4 clients get them over 10.
Oh,
10-2, 10-4, 10-6, and 10-4. 2 at 10-4.
Jesus.
That's a bass of a lifetime.
3 on the beach and 1 at Clemente. On the beach, Palos Verdes.
On the Boiler Rocks?
No, 1 was in 70 feet on outer kelp.
Really?
And all of them on 5-inch baits. That one, 10-4, was Dr. Tang, was on a 5-inch weedless bait. On straight 40 pound, we were in a wide open calico bite. And then the other one was a 5-inch swim jig in like 50 feet of water. The other 2 were shallow. The other 2 were in like 5 feet of water, you know, where they should be.
Yep.
And then I've got a 10-8 and a 10-4 in my life.
My God.
Both surface iron. And you'll like this, Dave. The 10-8 was caught in Monarch Bay, just on the on the west end there, just below above Salt Creek, in those rocks right way inside before Hogue.
Yeah.
In a foot of water in April.
Right up on, they're chasing the bait.
In about a foot of water. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of my favorite places. Too bad we lost all the rest of Laguna.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine how big those bass are now in Laguna?
Oh, they're probably happy. Happy eating lobster right now.
Oh yeah.
Hey, tell us a little bit about your new boat.
Oh, so the new boat, 2026 Camus. It's got a step toll, double step toll, 400 Verado, good power. It's made in Tennessee, Earl Bent's original factory that's been there for forever. Last year, we were able to do a walkthrough of the facility. Got to talk with Earl Bent, who's legendary in the Bass Hall of Fame as far as bass boats, and also he made his name in boat racing. So he worked closely with Mercury Marine. The boat's outfitted with all Humminbird electronics. It's the new Explorer 12s. Side imaging, down imaging, radar. It's got chirp radar. The trolling motor, I've got a 36 volt Quest Instinct, so it's auto. I can operate everything from my fish finders. The trolling motor, up and down, everything. It's all multifunctional. Running Norsk lithium batteries for the trolling motor and lithium batteries for the house and the start.
Sweet.
It's got zip wakes, so it's got the auto trim tabs in them. I had them in my last Camus that I ran last year. And I tell you one thing, we talk about tackle for the future. There's Seakeeper Ride and there's zip wakes, the only two that are really out there right now. But that's the future of skiff fishing. You'll never have to work a trim tab ever. It's auto. It runs on a gimbal, keeps the boat level. You could run through the gnarliest of stuff, and it'll still keep the boat level and run true. It's incredible. It's the best riding boat I've ever ridden in. Honestly,
that's a game changer.
Oh, it's huge. It's one less thing you need to concentrate on operating a vessel for sure.
Well, and it gives you it doesn't take all the energy out of you to spend a day on a boat when you're trying to balance yourself all day.
Especially a skiff when you're coming from the east end of Clemente and it's quartering all the way.
Quartering all the way across that stuff.
Yeah, I tell you, people don't understand when you have in a skiff, you have to operate the trim tabs with your right hand and then the wheel on the left hand. It takes a lot, autopilot's great, but you still have to tab the boat, right? You still have to keep the boat level. This will be even better than before.
Right.
Last boat I had a T-top. This one I'm optioning for a custom arch made by Fishing Boats Unlimited. So, and they've been around for 50 years. I think anybody knows has probably had some kind of work done by them, whether it's rod holders, arches, whatever. They also service boats. But we're looking about maybe a week and a half before we can splash it and get it out in the water.
Sweet.
I'm excited about it. Got to get you back out there, Michael, and do some bass fishing, man.
I'd love to. That day we spent together was just so much fun. I mean, it was just so much fun. And like you were saying, you got honey holes that you kind of hold in your pocket, but anywhere basically in any kind of structure along the jetty. I mean, these fish are everywhere. Like you said, you got a 10-pound, 8-ounce Calico and a foot of water.
Right.
Boiler rock.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that day, it was a little while ago, but we were pre-fishing for a tournament and that we ended up winning. And we were catching them and they were all shallow in the spring. All those big ones were coming up shallow.
Yeah.
So it's, fishing's like any other puzzle. You just got to kind of figure it out. And you've done enough projects with Benny and Greg and Dave as far as that calico bass in the heyday. Yep. It's still the same. They're in this area one day, they're in another area maybe a mile away up the beach, but everything relates to structure, bait, and current. Yeah. It's pretty basic, just like any other type of fishing. Freshwater fishing's the same thing. Some kind of something that draws the fish to bite when they want to bite and what they want to bite.
Yeah, and there's basically no current, no bite.
That's 100%.
For all intent and purposes. So you got to time. You want to time your tides right, and if it's uphill or downhill, there's just so many factors to consider, and that will kind of determine where you want to go and concentrate.
We were at Clemente last week, and I was telling the guys, I always tell them, hey, there's going to be a point in the day where I'm going to say, hey, you might want to eat lunch right now because we have no conditions.
Right,
and that's what they did. Yeah, I go, we can try to get a bite. We might catch one or two, but grab lunch. You know, we'll find some stuff where it might bite. We'll catch some small ones on smaller baits. And we did. You know, they had a sandwich. I went up the beach about half a mile, and then we caught a bunch on smaller fish on outer kelps, and then we came back as the current. Then the stuff just went Richter. I mean, we had like the last trip I went to Clementi's about a week ago on a Monday or Tuesday. We had like 93 bass up to 6 pounds. Yeah. All surface. I mean, blowing up on the 7-inch weedless.
In October.
In October. But it gets better. Like this weather pattern we have now. When's the last time we seen rain in this cold this time of year? Forever. Ever. Yeah. I don't even remember when the last time we had Indian summer. Remember those, what they call Indian summer about this time of year where it's 80 degrees, you get light Santa Anas, the weather's the best, you're catching yellowfin, yellowtail, and bass. I haven't seen it in a few years. It's been so unpredictable. So hopefully in November we get Indian summer. I don't know.
Pretty cool.
I don't know.
It's
But I expect better. We've had really good bites in November and December because you get that not as much wind. You're kind of transitioning to wintertime, and the weather tends to stay, you know, not as much wind. Still get those warmer days, you know, because we are in California. That's why we live here, because of the weather and what we get to do. But I see it being pretty darn good.
Eddie, when you're watching the tides, are you looking at about a 2-hour window between the high and the low that's sort of non-productive or you know, the weaker currents?
Yeah, I'm trying to capitalize on like the last hour before the tide tops out and bottoms out. They tend to bite pretty good then, or if it's going the other way, if it's starting to go, you know, tide coming in or tide just before it goes out, try to capitalize on that. And depends on how the tide's going. If you got a, you know, extreme drop, like last week, it went really high and really low, and when that water was moving, boy, yeah. And it was full. It was that black moon rising last Tuesday.
Yep.
You know, we had that big full moon, and my guys go, "You think they'll bite?" I go, "As long as there's current and bait, and they'll bite." And you know, one thing we did have was the bait came up, and we had boiling bass everywhere. I mean, up on that west end, and my guys were freaking out. They've never seen it, and they were like, you know, just like anybody's never seen it. They go, "Oh, there's bunch over there, bunch over there." I go, "We're on this bunch right ahead. Just focusing on that over there, right here." When I stop, cast, and that's where we got the bulk of our fish. That happened for about 2 hours right before the tide bottomed out. I mean, it was just like clockwork, and then it just.
I've always felt like the 2 hours prior to a high tide or the 2 hours prior to a low, it's the most productive time, and then coming out of a high or a low, it's usually the hour and a half after the slack that it starts to.
And that's exactly what happened. Was right near the bottom of the tide for like 2.5 hours. Dead. Stuff was biting. Yeah, fish were up. We had yellows come through, big yellows, like 30+ pound yellows up in the west end. We were in 90 feet of water, 90 feet, catching 2 to 4 to 5 pound bass on 7-inch weedless baits and surfing iron.
I don't think I'll ever forget the first time I saw a massive calico bass foamer. It was, you know, I think it was San Clemente Island, and it just went off, and I'd never seen anything like it. I'd seen bass, you know, they puddle with sport boats, they'll come up, you say, "Oh, that's a bass, you know, boil." You could tell the tail, you know, but onesies and twosies, there was never a massive amount of fish up.
Oh yeah, the best I've ever seen was West Cove up on the point by the runway. Right. That whole point was just thick. 3 to 5 pounders coming in the water. I was with a friend fishing that day. He's never fished there. He was freaking out. "Why aren't you casting?" I go, "Look at this." You know, I just stopped. I go, "Look at this.
Right.
This is incredible."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he goes, "Yeah, but he goes, "You've seen it?" I go, "I've seen it before, but it's just pretty cool." You know, it's nature at work, right? So cool. It's even when you see foamers everywhere, I kind of just step back going, "Man, we get to see this stuff, right? This is really cool." Really, really.
To me, that's one of the most important parts of fishing is the intangibles.
Yep. It's to step back and just take it all in. I agree, 100%.
Yep, absolutely.
Never take it for granted.
Absolutely.
Never take it for granted.
Yeah, we left Dorado today, 30 pounders. We left them biting. It was wide open, as good as it could be, but what are we going to do with them? So we sat there and looked at them for a little while, and then we just left because what are we going to do with them? We still got 3 days left of this trip. We haven't even got to the real fish yet. We had
wait till you get down to Mag Bay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna be catching marlin.
we had one kelp patty. It was just straight big giant Dorado. Look at this thing.
Wow.
If he shows it in there right now, he's kind of looking at it but there's a bunch of big giant Dorado in this thing. We literally left them biting.
That's good stuff.
He's trying to show them to you, but gang, it was purple in the water. You just looked over the side. Every one you hooked, there was 10 or 12 following it. Look at those, a quality Dorado.
That's regulation fish right there. Yeah.
And that was like
how far off Cedros were you, Dave?
we were like 8 miles off the west end of the island, coming down to the island, and it was grease flat. I mean, you look out there right now in the pig, it's grease flat right now. I know we're lucky we got to hang on because tomorrow it's going to blow, but it is excellent traveling weather today.
Wow, good for you guys.
3-day trip?
We're going to take 5.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we're going to be down there on Friday.
Nice.
But there you go. There's some nice Dorado. It's just been a great trip. Michael's got to get going to business. So, Benny, we're going to let you talk about your business again real quick to let people know how they can get a hold of you, because Michael, as you know, it's a lifetime. I mean, a lot of guys fish with you because you're one of the best in the industry. But Scott, Mason, who does the Tatty Lures, he swears to God by you, Benny. He only fishes with you. I mean,
I'm telling you, Dave, once you fish with Benny, you don't want to fish with anybody else. Honestly.
Yeah, Scott's had a chance. He's had a chance. He had a 10-pounder come off right next to the boat. But you know, Scott's near dear to my heart because he was my very first charter way back.
Was he really?
Yeah, and he caught an 8 that day too in April. Ugly weather and everything. We had a fantastic
No wonder he's
day.
addicted.
So to get a hold of me, Instagram, coastal_charters, Facebook, Coastal Charters, fishcoastalcharters.com. Love to have you out. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. All my info's there. My website, fishcoastalcharters.com. My phone number's there. My email address is there. And if you send me any kind of a message, I'll make sure I get back to you. Tackle recommendations, the boat, whatever it may be. I'm pretty personable, so feel free to reach out to me.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
And we'll see you at the shows too. You're always at the shows helping everybody out. You're just a very personable person, and I'm glad to call you my friend. And Michael was stoked that you were coming on the show today.
Absolutely. I was so excited.
I was very excited. I'm glad you guys made time because I was working last week, so appreciate that.
No worries.
All right, we got you, buddy.
Thanks for joining us, man. Thank you for tuning in, you guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, guys. For the rest of today, we're going to be in the zone where you're not allowed to fish, so we won't be going live today. We got only fish from Aponga at Cedros Island. We are like right on the edge of being over the line right now, so we're going to pull in the lures and end the day. Thank you guys for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Benny, great job as usual. Michael, I'll see you next Tuesday, buddy.